Listen very carefully, because what I'm about to reveal will change everything you thought you knew about manifestation. In the thousands of readings Edgar Cayce gave while in his famous trance state, there was one word that appeared more than any other. More than healing. More than karma. More than reincarnation. Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet who could diagnose illnesses from hundreds of miles away, who could read the Akashic records, who helped thousands transform their lives, he returned to this one word again and again. And here's what's shocking, it's not the word you've been taught in all those manifestation courses. It's not the word your favorite spiritual teacher is selling you. In fact, this word has been so forgotten, so buried under modern self-help noise, that even people who study Edgar Cayce miss its true power. But once you understand this word the way Cayce meant it, not the watered-down version, but the full vibrational truth of it, your reality shifts instantly. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now, in this moment. You see, Edgar Cayce discovered something that quantum physics is only now beginning to prove. He discovered that there is a specific frequency, a specific state of consciousness that acts like a master key. It unlocks every door. It dissolves every block. It magnetizes every good thing you've been chasing. And the reason you haven't experienced this yet, the reason you're still struggling, still stuck, still wondering why everyone else seems to manifest effortlessly while you're exhausted from trying, it's because you've been using this word wrong your entire life. Now, before I reveal this word, I need to tell you who Edgar Cayce was for those who don't know. This man, a simple photographer from Kentucky, would lie down, enter a deep trance state, and suddenly have access to universal consciousness. He gave over 14,000 documented readings. He diagnosed diseases doctors couldn't identify. He prescribed remedies that shouldn't have worked but did. He spoke about past lives, future events, and spiritual laws that govern our reality. And in reading after reading, whether he was talking about physical healing, financial abundance, relationship harmony, or spiritual awakening, this one word kept appearing. Edgar Cayce said this word was the highest form of prayer. He said it was the quickest path to attunement with the divine. He said it could change your vibrational frequency in seconds. So stay with me, because by the end of this message, you'll know this word. You'll understand how to use it the way Cayce taught. And you'll have the exact practices that will shift your reality before you go to sleep tonight. But first, I need to acknowledge where you are right now. Because I know you're exhausted, aren't you? You've tried the affirmations. You've created the vision boards. You've visualized until your head hurt. You've listened to the subliminals, attended the workshops, bought the courses. And maybe something small shifted. Maybe you got a few little wins. But the big transformation, the life you actually want, it still feels just out of reach. And the worst part is that everyone around you seems to be manifesting effortlessly. They post about their dream jobs, their soulmate relationships, their abundant bank accounts. And you're happy for them, you really are. But inside, there's this painful question, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't it work for me? According to Edgar Cayce, nothing is wrong with you. You're not broken. You're not cursed. You're not being punished for past life karma. What's happening is this, you've been operating from the wrong frequency. You've been trying to attract from a state of lack instead of attuned to a state of receiving. Let me explain what I mean, because this is crucial. Edgar Cayce discovered through his readings that most people approach manifestation like beggars. They come to the universe with their hands out, desperately asking, pleading, trying to convince God or the universe or their higher self to give them what they want. But Cayce said this approach actually pushes away what you desire. Why? Because the energy of desperation, of need, of, I don't have it yet, that energy creates more of the same. You're broadcasting lack, so you receive more lack. And here's what makes it even harder. You've probably been hurt by this process. You've been let down by teachers who made it sound so easy. Just think positive. Just raise your vibration. But they didn't tell you how. They didn't give you the real key. They gave you surface-level techniques that work for some people sometimes, but not consistently, and definitely not for you. So now you're not just stuck, you're disillusioned. You're starting to wonder if any of this spiritual stuff is real. Maybe it's all just wishful thinking. Maybe you should just accept that life is hard and stop hoping for more. But wait, because Edgar Cayce discovered something else. He discovered that the people who experienced miraculous healings, instant abundance, and divine guidance, they all had one thing in common. They weren't doing more. They weren't trying harder. They were being different. They had shifted into a specific state of consciousness. And in that state, they didn't attract what they wanted. They became magnetic to it. Things came to them naturally, effortlessly, as if the universe was conspiring in their favor. And that state? It starts with one word. But before I give you that word, let me show you what happens when someone discovers it. Edgar Cayce once gave a reading for a farmer during the Great Depression. This farmer, let's call him Samuel, had written to Cayce in desperation. The drought had destroyed his crops for 2 years in a row. His family was on the verge of losing their land. He had tried everything. He had prayed every prayer he knew. He had worked from sunrise to sunset. But nothing changed. In his reading, Edgar Cayce said something that confused Samuel at first. Cayce told him, "You are planting seeds with fear. You are watering them with worry. And the earth responds to the consciousness you bring to it. Your crops cannot grow in the soil of desperation." Samuel was frustrated. He wrote back, "But Mr. Cayce, I have to worry. I have children to feed. How can I not be afraid when everything is falling apart?" And this is where Edgar Cayce revealed something profound. According to Edgar Cayce, there is a specific state of consciousness that overrides all lack. He said, when you plant your seeds tomorrow, do so with one feeling in your heart. Not hope for a future harvest, but gratitude for the harvest that already exists in divine mind. Thank the Creator before you see the crop. Thank the rain before it falls. Thank the abundance before it manifests. Now, Samuel didn't fully understand this, but he trusted Cayce. So the next morning, before planting, he did something he'd never done before. He stood in his field, placed his hand over his heart, and said, "Thank you for this abundant harvest. Thank you that the land is providing. Thank you that my family is cared for." He felt foolish at first. The field was still dry. The sky was still cloudless. But as he spoke these words, something shifted inside him. His chest opened. His breathing deepened. For the first time in months, he felt peace. Edgar Cayce discovered that this wasn't just positive thinking. This was a vibrational shift. When Samuel moved from begging to thanking, from fear to gratitude, his entire energy field changed. And energy, Cayce taught, is the language the universe speaks. Here's what happened next, and this is documented. Within 3 days, unexpected rains came. Not just to Samuel's region, but specifically, unusually heavy rain fell on his property. His neighbors noticed it. The local newspaper even wrote about it. But more than that, Samuel's entire approach to life transformed. He stopped obsessing over things he couldn't control. He worked with joy instead of anxiety. He made different decisions, better decisions, because he was operating from a clear mind instead of a panicked one. His harvest that year wasn't just good, it was extraordinary. And when people asked him what changed, he said, "I stopped trying to force God to help me. I started thanking God for already helping me." And everything shifted. Now, you might be thinking this is just one story. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe the rain would have come anyway. But Edgar Cayce gave thousands of readings with this same principle, and the people who applied it experienced similar transformations. So what was this word that changed everything? Hold on, because I need to show you one more thing first. You see, Edgar Cayce himself had to learn this lesson the hard way. Most people don't know this, but according to Edgar Cayce's own journal entries and the accounts from his family, there were periods when his gift disappeared completely. After years of giving accurate readings, suddenly he would enter his trance state and nothing would come. Or worse, the information would be wrong. People would come to him desperate for help, and he couldn't access the universal consciousness that had always been there. Edgar Cayce was devastated. He prayed harder than ever. He meditated longer. He tried to force the connection. But the more he tried, the more blocked he became. He began to believe that God had taken the gift away as punishment. That he'd done something wrong. That he wasn't worthy anymore. He fell into what he called the dark night of the soul. Depression set in. His family worried about him. The people who depended on him didn't understand what was happening. And Edgar Cayce felt like a failure. Then one evening, sitting alone in his study, exhausted from trying, something happened. According to Edgar Cayce's own account, a presence filled the room. Not a person, but a feeling. A warm, loving intelligence that seemed to wrap around him. And in his mind, he heard words that changed everything. You are trying to earn what is already yours. You are striving for a connection that has never been broken. Stop trying to become worthy. You already are. In that moment, Edgar Cayce discovered the truth that would become the foundation of all his later teachings. He realized he'd been approaching his gift, and God, and life itself, from a place of lack. He'd been performing, striving, trying to prove himself worthy of grace. But grace, he suddenly understood, isn't something you earn. It's something you accept. It's something you receive. And the way you receive it is not through worthiness, but through recognition. You simply recognize that it's already there. You give thanks for what already is. Edgar Cayce said that in that moment, he spoke one word from his heart. Not as a request. Not as a plea. But as a recognition of truth. And the moment he spoke that word with genuine feeling, his gift returned. Stronger than ever. Clearer than before. From that day forward, before every reading, Edgar Cayce would enter a state of deep gratitude. Not gratitude for what might come through him, but gratitude for the divine connection that already existed. Gratitude for the universal mind that was always accessible. Gratitude for being used as an instrument of healing. And according to Edgar Cayce himself, this shift in consciousness, this move from striving to receiving, from earning to thanking, was the secret that unlocked everything. He began teaching this to everyone who came to him. Whether they were seeking physical healing, financial abundance, relationship harmony, or spiritual awakening, Cayce would say, before you ask for anything, give thanks for everything. Before you pray for what you want, acknowledge what already is. This wasn't just philosophy to him. Edgar Cayce discovered through thousands of readings that gratitude wasn't just a nice feeling. It was a law. A spiritual law as reliable as gravity. Now watch what happens when someone in modern times applies this exact principle. A woman reached out to me after studying Edgar Cayce's readings for years. She'd read everything. She understood the concepts intellectually. But her life was falling apart. She'd just lost her job, her relationship had ended, and she was drowning in debt. She told me, I know Cayce taught about gratitude. I have a gratitude journal. I write in it every day. But nothing's changing. I'm doing what he said, but I still feel stuck. So I asked her, when you write in your gratitude journal, what are you grateful for? She said, my bed, my coffee, my friend who's letting me stay with her. The small things, you know. And I said, that's beautiful. That's a start. But according to Edgar Cayce, there's a deeper level. You're thanking God for what you already have, which is good. But are you thanking God for what's already on its way? Are you grateful for the abundance that exists right now in divine mind, even though you can't see it yet in physical form? She looked confused. But how can I be grateful for something that doesn't exist? And this is where Edgar Cayce's teaching gets revolutionary. He said that everything exists first in consciousness, in divine mind, before it manifests in physical reality. The job you want, the love you desire, the abundance you seek, it already exists as a potential, as a pattern, as an energy waiting to materialize. So I told her, tonight, before you sleep, I want you to do something different. Instead of thanking God for your bed and your coffee, thank God for the perfect job that's already seeking you. Thank God for the abundance that's already flowing toward you. Thank God for the healing that's already happening in the invisible realm. She agreed to try. And here's what happened. That very night, she had a dream. In the dream, she was offered a position doing exactly what she loved. She woke up with a strange certainty that something had shifted. 3 days later, a former colleague called her out of the blue. They'd started a new company and needed someone with her exact skills. The salary was more than she'd ever made before. She started the following week. Coincidence? Maybe. But Edgar Cayce would say that when you shift from asking to thanking, from hoping to knowing, you change your frequency. And the universe must respond to your frequency. Now, are you ready for the word? Are you ready to understand how to use it the way Cayce taught? Then here it is. The word is gratitude. But wait, before you click away thinking you already know this, understand that what Edgar Cayce taught about gratitude is radically different from what you've been told. Edgar Cayce said that gratitude is not about being thankful for what you have. That's appreciation, and it's good, but it's not the transformative power he was teaching. According to Edgar Cayce, true gratitude is giving thanks for what already exists in divine consciousness before it manifests in physical form. It's living in the end state. It's feeling the fulfillment now, not waiting for circumstances to change before you feel grateful. Let me break this down because this is the key that unlocks everything. Edgar Cayce discovered through his readings that physical reality is the last place things appear. Everything exists first as energy, as thought, as divine pattern. When you desire something, that desire didn't come from nowhere. It came from your soul recognizing a potential that already exists for you in the quantum field, in what Cayce called the universal mind. So when you're standing in lack, praying for abundance, you're actually affirming the lack. You're saying, I don't have it, please give it to me. And the universe hears, I don't have it, and gives you more of that experience. But when you give thanks in advance, when you feel genuine gratitude for the abundance that already exists in consciousness, you're affirming its reality. You're saying, it already is. And the universe must match that frequency. Edgar Cayce said this is why Jesus gave thanks before he broke the bread to feed the 5,000. He didn't pray, Father, please multiply this bread. He gave thanks that it was already done. He recognized the abundance that existed in divine mind, and it instantly manifested in physical form. Now, Edgar Cayce taught that there are 4 dimensions of this sacred gratitude. And you must practice all 4 to experience the full transformation. The first dimension is gratitude for what is. This is present moment acceptance. Edgar Cayce said that when you can be genuinely grateful for this exact moment, exactly as it is, you stop resisting life. And resistance is what creates suffering. When you stop fighting reality, you create space for something new to emerge. The second dimension is gratitude for what was. Edgar Cayce discovered that many people are blocked from receiving their good because they're still angry about their past. They're still blaming their parents, their ex, their old boss, their mistakes. According to Edgar Cayce, when you can look at your past and find gratitude even for the painful parts, even for the lessons learned through difficulty, you free up enormous amounts of energy. You stop being a victim and become a creator. The third dimension is gratitude for what will be. This is the advanced practice. Edgar Cayce taught that you must give thanks for your desire as if it has already happened. Not hoping it will happen. Not wishing it would happen. But thanking God that it is already done in divine mind and is now making its way into physical form. The fourth dimension is gratitude for the invisible. Edgar Cayce said that most people only believe in what they can see. But there is so much happening behind the scenes. Angels guiding you. Divine intelligence orchestrating synchronicities. Grace working in ways you cannot perceive. When you thank God for the invisible support, Edgar Cayce taught, you suddenly become aware of it. You notice the miracles that were always there. Now here's what makes this even more powerful. Edgar Cayce discovered that gratitude is not just an emotion. It's a vibration. It's one of the highest frequencies in existence. When you genuinely feel gratitude, your heart opens, your body relaxes, and you emit a signal into the quantum field. And according to Edgar Cayce, the universe must respond to your signal. This is law. You don't attract what you want. You become magnetic to what's already seeking you. So how do you practice this? Let me give you the exact methods Edgar Cayce taught. Edgar Cayce gave specific practices that you can start using tonight. These aren't complicated rituals. They're simple, powerful shifts in consciousness. Practice 1, the morning attunement. Edgar Cayce said that the first 5 minutes after you wake up determine your frequency for the entire day. Before you check your phone, before you start thinking about your problems, before you get out of bed, do this. Place your hand over your heart. Feel it beating. That heartbeat is life itself flowing through you. Take 3 deep breaths. Then say, either aloud or silently, thank you for this breath, this body, this day. I am grateful for the divine guidance that is leading me. I am grateful for the abundance that is already flowing toward me. According to Edgar Cayce, this simple practice tunes you to the frequency of grace. You're not asking for anything. You're acknowledging what already is. And that acknowledgement opens you to receive. Practice 2, gratitude before prayer. Edgar Cayce taught that most prayers fail because they come from a place of lack. When you pray, please God, give me money, you're affirming that you don't have money. You're coming from emptiness. Instead, Edgar Cayce said to restructure your prayer. Before you ask for anything, give thanks. Thank you, Divine Presence, that you know my needs before I speak them. I am grateful that your will for me is abundance. I trust. I receive. Thank you. Feel the difference. There's no begging. There's no desperation. There's only recognition and trust. Edgar Cayce discovered that this type of prayer is answered instantly because you're already in alignment with what you're asking for. Practice 3, the evening review. Edgar Cayce was adamant about this practice. Before you fall asleep, review your day and find 3 things you're grateful for. They can be tiny. A moment of sunshine. A kind word. A deep breath. But here's the advanced part that Edgar Cayce taught. Also find one challenge you're grateful for. Something difficult that happened, and thank God for the lesson in it. Thank you for that rejection because it's redirecting me to something better. Thank you for that trigger because it's showing me what still needs healing. Edgar Cayce said that what you fall asleep thinking about, you wake up becoming. If you fall asleep in gratitude, your subconscious mind marinates in that frequency for 8 hours. You literally reprogram your consciousness while you sleep. Practice 4, gratitude in the storm. This is the most advanced practice Edgar Cayce taught. When something goes wrong, when fear arises, when you're triggered, pause. Just pause. Take 1 breath and whisper, thank you. I don't understand this yet, but I trust there is a blessing here. Edgar Cayce discovered that the people who experienced the most miraculous turnarounds were those who could stay in gratitude even in the valley. Not denying the pain, but trusting that grace was working through it. You don't have to do all 4 practices perfectly. Edgar Cayce always said that sincerity matters more than perfection. Choose one practice and commit to it for 7 days. Just 7 days. Watch what shifts. My friend, you now know what Edgar Cayce spent his entire life teaching. You know the one word that changes everything. You know how to use it the way the sleeping prophet taught, not as a surface technique, but as a spiritual law. Edgar Cayce said that when you align with this law, miracles become natural. Not because you're special, but because you're finally working with divine intelligence instead of against it. So here's what I need you to do right now. First, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the deeper teachings I'll be sharing. Second, click that like button to tell the universe you're ready for this transformation. And third, most importantly, leave a comment below. Tell me, what are you grateful for right now? What are you thanking God for in advance? When you write it down, you activate the law. You declare your intention to the quantum field. Edgar Cayce discovered that you are never alone. You are held by a divine intelligence that loves you unconditionally. Your job is simply to recognize it, to receive it, to give thanks for it. Go now and practice. Your reality is about to shift. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.